Tuesday evening, James Bree scored, I think it was the 88th minute, the winner, as we beat Stoke to book a place in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup. Steve, good first half, good goal from, it was Taylor Harwood-Bellis, wasn't it, with the first goal? Let's focus on the first half first, because there were some positives there, even though it was against a slightly weakened Stoke side.
Yeah, first half was very good. And to be honest, we probably should have been 3 or 4 up before they got one back with the... I mean, I'm not quite sure whether it was good or whether it was a complete freak, their goal. Still undecided, despite having seen it live and on various replays. But yeah, we were good in the first half for the most part. We kept possession well, but we were keeping that possession for a purpose. We were getting into good areas. We played wide quite a lot because Stoke packed the midfield and tried to make it narrow and force us out into those wide areas where they thought, okay, crosses into the box, we can deal with this. But actually, we worked the spaces quite well. I thought caused them a lot of problems. Yeah, their keeper pulled off a couple of saves. I think Armstrong might have gone kind of a cross goal with one that he hit straight at him from an angle. But yeah, other than that, kind of no real complaints about the first half, really. And you thought, well, okay, we'll just keep this up. Keep this up even up until 65, 70 minutes, and this game's won and it's very comfortable. And I don't think even the most pessimistic of Saints fans, having seen that first 40 minutes or so, would have quite envisaged just how god awful we could be in the second half. I mean, that was I would say that was the worst 45 minutes we played all season.
That's a big claim.
Well, even including things like the sort of last half an hour of the first half against Bournemouth and I mean, kind of most of the 90 minutes against Forest. That was just god awful because I mean, let's be honest. Look at the levels we're facing here, where you've got a team that's 16th or 17th in the Championship, kind of going nowhere really.
Did they rest a few as well?
And Stoke themselves made 9 changes.
Yeah.
So they're playing a reserve team. We've left more first teamers in the starting 11, and I mean they tore us to bits in the second half, and it was kind of embarrassing watching the way that we would just present the ball to them 30, 40 yards from goal and let them run at us, and we got very lucky. Sugawara made the mistake in the first place, giving the ball away with about 5 minutes to go. But the guy just managed to run straight through, and not quite sure what Ramsdale's doing in this situation. He's basically somehow ended up on the ground, not made himself big, basically given the guy the whole goal to dink the ball into. But fortunately, he's not put enough on it, and Sugawara's managed to get back and clear it off the line.
What a clearance, well, by the way.
It was brilliant, but I mean, shouldn't have been given the opportunity, really. But then, yeah, I mean, more or less, like a minute or two later, we go up the other end, and having kind of gone back to that, I mean, what Gordon Strachan always used to call propaganda football. It did genuinely feel like we were passing for passing's sake in the second half. Didn't go anywhere with it. Nobody in attacking areas were making runs. I think I read Cameron Archer had six touches in 66 minutes, which is fine if you're Erling Haaland and your teammates are creating chances and you still score a hat trick with those 6 touches. But unfortunately, we're not doing that. So yeah, we need a little bit more sharpness up front, which in fairness he did give us yesterday. And yeah, we worked ourselves into some decent shooting positions, kind of on the edge of the area, and just steadfastly refused to do so until finally James Bree got into his favourite position, 20 yards from goal, just to the side of the post, and has hammered one into the near post again and sealed the game, which I mean, for a lot of that second half, we brutally didn't deserve. And we are obviously, and of course, we have the fine reward of losing to Liverpool in the next round. So
just before Christmas. I mean, that's a damning indictment, Glenn, from Steve for that second half. But it was pretty much pathetic, wasn't it? It was terrible.
Oh, it was awful, and it highlighted to me how the way we play can descend into absolute nothingness in attacking areas. I mean, I didn't know Cameron Archer only touched the ball 6 times. I'm not surprised because we never play that pass. We never play that pass from midfield into the centre forward. Well, certainly didn't in the Stoke game. It was all go wide, come back again, go wide, and lots of possession between halfway and about 35 yards out, all in front of Stoke, and just nothing. It was just garbage. And we compounded that by, of course, every time they came forward, it was like a bomb going off in our penalty area. It was just horrendous. The defending was horrific. Even Ramsdale was terrible. He turned into full Gavin Bazunu that game. I don't think he even touched the ball, let in 2 goals. It was just shocking, really. Mistakes all over the place, and yeah, it was the lack of people willing to have a go from the edge of the box. It was just remarkable. You can't just attack in one way. It becomes entirely predictable. I mean, Stoke, I don't know if that was even their regular defence, but they weren't tested at all. We didn't make it hard for them at all in between. I mean, the 2 goals in the first half are both set pieces. No. I mean, yeah, okay, a goal's a goal. Doesn't matter how you get them. But
it was a soft penalty as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit. But from open play, our attacking ideas were distinctly lacking. It was strange. I mean, we talked about substitutions for the last game. I mean, we ended up with a mad selection of players on the pitch where we basically had 3 defenders, 2 midfielders, and 5 forwards.
It just felt to me like a bit of a free-for-all at the end. It's like, let's just throw everybody on and see what happens. It's like, who the hell's coming on now?
And again, it highlighted another thing about our squad players. When you look at the players who play, particularly in the wide attacking areas. I mean, Maxwell Cornet had 70 minutes, was it? Just garbage, didn't do anything.
He looked like a competition winner, didn't
he? Yeah, he did a bit. Ryan Fraser was obviously ill, injured, whatever, but he steadfastly refuses to take on a fullback ever. And that annoys me. And Ben Brereton Diaz was just what we've seen from him so far, just, did nothing. And it comes to something when Sulemana looks the best bet. And he actually did in that Stoke game, and he I know it's not the best of assists, just passing the ball to James Bree, but at least he got his head up and looked for a player and found him. So, fair play. But there was so many sort of like poor performances. But I think the last sort of 20 minutes were pretty shambolic because, I mean, we had Joe Aribo in midfield with Sam Amo, basically, and then 4 or 5 forwards in front of him. It was bizarre. Big Les had gone back to centre half. There was all sorts of stuff going on. So it was a very sort of shambolic and strange performance. But we got the job done, and you just hope that Russell Martin, from his vantage point of high in the stands, saw a few things about certain players, even if it was negative things, where he just thought, you know what, I'm not playing him. Or I'm not using him as much as I thought. I thought there was some half decent performances. I mean, I thought Leslie Ugachukwu was decent in the first half an hour, and then he kind of faded a bit second half. He's got a habit of giving away free kicks, sort of 35 yards out, which with our supreme record of defending free kicks is not the best. But yeah, Russell Martin will have learnt a few things, I'm sure, and we got the job done. But the draw was somewhat disappointing. But unless we'd drawn probably Crystal Palace, then I think it was always going to be a tough one. Looking at the teams that are left in, but yeah, at least we're at home. Why not have a go?
Yeah. You did say, Alfie, it was going to be a bit of a stronger starting lineup, didn't you? I was surprised to see Aaron Ramsdale start, if I'm honest. But was there a bit of a virus, did I hear, that a few players have been a bit ill? So maybe that wasn't perhaps the 11 that he was thinking about putting out?
Yeah, a little bit of lurgy in the camp. I heard it referred to on Sky Sports. I think the guys he referenced, I think, were obviously Ryan Fraser ended up coming off as a result. Flynn Downs, Jack Stevens, maybe Adam Armstrong, a couple others. I think Adam obviously played and scored, but yeah, I don't think it was. I don't think it majorly struck anybody down or changed the plans too much. I think he mainly just went with a strong defence, and then Matty Fernandez and I suppose a couple of rotation options from there. And if you remember, the context of the game at the time was that he obviously needed to win, and a loss would have been catastrophic. And as it happened, a win was nearly catastrophic itself. But the fact they've managed to bounce back from that midweek, because I mean that was truly horrendous. Side note for me, though, the interesting thing I thought was that Russell Martin, his agent, who was sat with, I thought he looked remarkably.
Is that who it was? The guy that looked like
agent? Yeah, I thought he looked remarkably like Graham Potter, but it's not. And I've since sat behind his agent, who was a few rows in front of me on Saturday. He doesn't like Graham Potter from behind, so it's definitely not Graham Potter. But I thought that at the time.
I did like all the replies to the pictures of what he may or may not have been writing his notes. There was one about a love letter to Lucy Pinder, which I thought was quite funny.
Brilliant. I think he's quite lucky to miss that game though, rather than the Saturday game. It was good timing for him to come up. 3 yellow cards in the Premier League, and you get to miss the Southampton B versus Stoke B. I mean, that's a great stroke of fortune, really.
And a home game, though.
How many yellow cards is it before the next one?
Oh, it's a good question. I don't know if it's 6 or 8. I can find out, but I think it might be 8. It goes from 3 to 8. No, I think it's a big jump for some reason. I remember thinking last year, because I think the next one's obviously a 2-game ban, and I'll try and find out by the end of the pod.
Well, I'm sure he'd be much better behaved for serving his punishment anyway. We need to do a player of the week. No surprise, Taylor Harwood-Bellis won the poll last week. First time from him this season, actually. So over the course of the 2 games this would be, Steve, anybody that you want to chuck into the mix first?
I mean, just from yesterday, it's got to be Ramsdale, hasn't it? I mean, as Glenn mentioned earlier, that was essentially what he was signed for games like this, where it's tight, and he's the one that's going to make the difference for us. I think there's probably a couple of those saves where you just kind of assume that if it was Alex McCarthy or Gavin Bazunu in goal, those end up in the back of the net. So, big swing on the points for that. I mean, as I said, I didn't think Ramsdale was anything special midweek, but I mean, when everybody's off it, including the 10 in front, I mean, it was, as I say, Tuesday was just weird in that it felt like for 40 minutes it was too easy, and they just slipped into bad habits, really. But yeah, Ramsdale for me.
Right, Glenn.
Over the 2 games, I'd say the most consistent player over the 2 games is probably Matty Fernandes. It's just a very, very good player, and I think people are beginning to notice this now from outside, because Tyler Dibling's taken a lot of the attention this season, but I think Fernandes has been quietly doing his job and getting better and better, and I thought he was pretty good in both games. Only other player, harking back to something I said at the start, Adam Armstrong scored in both games. I don't think he played particularly well in both games, but the bottom line is, if he doesn't play well and he scores goals most weeks, then that's worth its weight in gold for this team that isn't going to score many goals, let's face it. And we need to have more goal threats than just Cameron Archer in order to have a chance of achieving anything this season. So I'd say Adam Armstrong is worth a mention. But overall performance is not great, but end result is all that matters in his case.
Goals wins games. Yeah, Alfie?
I think if we're going on the Saturday game alone, I think Bednarek would definitely be in there. Harwood-Bellis for contributions over both games is who I will nominate. I'll nominate Harwood-Bellis, but I think Breezy is unlucky because he loves a cup winner. I think, did he score the winning penalty as well?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, to have that hand in all 3 games, fair play. He's got to start against Liverpool. The other thing yesterday, I think Russell Martin said, so he was asked about Matty Fernandes and how good he is, and he was very clear to say, yeah, he's good, but he's not good enough for any big teams yet. He needs a couple of seasons here first, and I totally agree with him on that.